The date is August 5th, 1935. The Kazakoan fleet designated Task Group 1 is sailing under Admiral Dominik Kowalski du Akeshi aboard the flagship aircraft carrier LWS Aplash du Christus. In the early morning hours, preparations for a surprise attack upon the Vinlandian fleet in Styr are underway. A simple message is delivered to Admiral Akeshi, granting permission to launch the attack when ready. Task Force 1 is Arcadia's most powerful carrier strike force, rivaled globally by only Yamato and the Tsariopian First Carrier Group. Well-drilled, well-trained, and well-maintained, the task force sails closer into Vinland Bay when a lieutenant rushes up to the bridge and says that lookouts spotted a small aircraft with Vinland colors flying a few miles away. While unsure if a message had been sent or if they had been spotted, Admiral Akeshi has his first of a series of choices to make that will decide the events of the day. The Admiral decides that if the plane had not turned to shadow them, they had not have been spotted. Admiral Akeshi decides to continue the attack, unaware that the large fleet in Styr would be setting sail within an hour. All remained normal in Task Group 1 until the early morning began, once the planes were being fueled and pilots briefed on their targets. It is now that an ensign operating the hydrophone on the flagship, one of the best and long-ranged hydrophones in the entire Navy, got up, saluted the Admiral, and stated that a large number of heavy warships could be heard approaching. However, at this range, it was impossible to tell direction or give an accurate heading or range. This created Admiral Akeshi's second important choice of the day. Should he continue his operation he had been personally tasked with to destroy the Vinland Navy before it could become a threat, or would he take these underprepared yet worrying reports seriously and call off the surprise attack as having lost the element of surprise? After about 5 minutes of deliberation, it was decided to continue the operation without change to the plans. Planes took off from the flight deck of the two carriers, the LWS Królewski Lw and the LWS Aplash du Christus, and began the flight south to the port of Styr for their raid. It was 45 minutes after the planes had taken off that a delayed recon plane reported it frantically to Task Group 1. Sending back a coded radio telegraph to the fleet that main fleet had been spotted 23 miles northwest of the fleet's present position. Admiral Akeshi knew that not all his planes already in the sky would be able to strike the fleet approaching him, having taken off at long range in the hopes of remaining undetected. He also knew that not all his planes had anti-ship weaponry equipped, as some were given land bombs to destroy facilities and airfields in Styr as well. This gave Admiral Akeshi his next big decision. Would he call his planes back to refuel and refit for a proper attack and risk entering the range of Finnish battleships, or would he call his planes back to launch an immediate attack on the Finnish fleet, risking aircraft and a not entirely complete job? In the end, the Admiral chose the second option, to launch an immediate attack on the approaching fleet. As the planes approached, the Finnish fleet panicked, consumed the sailors, and massive Kazakoan torpedoes tore entire ships in half on the attack, decimating the fleet's cohesion temporarily. An armor-piercing bomb even hit the flagship of the Finnish fleet, the SS Vinland, with Admiral Daniels on board. However, excellent damage control managed to contain the fire on the deck before it spread, allowing it to remain in the fight. While the damage looked brutal at first, in reality, the rather disorganized, short-lived attack due to the decision to attack with low fuel reserves had greatly reduced the number of ships actually damaged or sunk, and many of the battleships had been spared the worst of it, as in the early morning target identification on moving targets became incredibly difficult, leading to many Kazakoan aircraft attacking the same target or the wrong ship altogether, and many attacked the destroyers and cruisers acting as pickets for the larger capital ships. Upon their return, they gave words of victory, having seemingly sunk so many large ships, which gave Admiral Akechi confidence to refuel and launch a second strike to finish off the fleet, hoping to catch them on their retreat home to steer. This meant they stayed in position and launched their aircraft in the wrong direction. By the time the airplanes were reaching their maximum range, the hydrophone operator announced that the Finnish fleet had been once again detected just 13 miles away. A panicked radio message is sent to the home fleet farther southeast. However, it is too late. Just 5 minutes later, the remaining 18 Finnish battleships opened up at range, shot after shot, ranging into the Kazakoan fleet. The two battleships returned fire, but it was just too little too late. As the Kazakoan task force attempted to withdraw, both sides had found their range, and 144 16-inch guns blew apart the task force ship by ship. The first large ship to go down was the LWS Królewski Lou, which was hit by 11 16-inch shells before exploding and sinking, followed by the battleships LWS General Stefan Kowalski and LWS General Mikhail Dupont, followed finally by the LWS Aplas de Christus, with a shell hitting the bridge, killing Admiral Akechi instantly. In the chaos, Kazakoan ship after ship was blown apart, with the Finnish fleet continuing to close the range to improve accuracy as the firepower of the task force dwindled down to nothing as the remaining ships scattered to avoid the largest naval concentration of firepower seen in decades. When word of what happened to Task Force 1 reached the approaching home fleet, knowing they were outgunned, they broke off, not engaging the Finnish fleet, ending the Battle of Vinland Bay,